Welcome everybody in YouTube land. So today we are going to be doing a review and test ride of this 2010 KTM SMT 990. So first I'll just go through all the specs, go through all the parts on it, go through all the features and all that junk and get that out of the way. Then we'll go take it out for a rip and see what she's all about. Alright, so starting from the front, Brembo 4-pot calipers on there, fully adjustable WP suspension, Marchesini wheels, plastic fender, which is kind of weird, but you know, KTM will KTM. Clearly it's a bike, just looking at the front, that's like all the other KTMs, right? You either love it or you hate it. I think it's quite handsome. I like it quite a bit. The SMT overall is kind of an oxymoron. Being a supermoto and touring, I kind of dig it. Yeah, so let's keep going through the specs here. So this one here has right at 18,500 miles. It's in quite good shape. 5-gallon fuel tank. This bike has a radial Brembo master cylinder, which I think works pretty well, but we'll check it out on the road. It also has a hydraulic clutch, which I really like. I really like the action. I've noticed that it can be kind of a pain in the ass because they get quite finicky. Like if the cylinder in there gets scratched at all, it'll start leaking. Then you have to replace it, and this being a 2010, little parts like that are kind of a pain in the ass to source. But, you know, it's not a big deal. We got a 5-gallon plastic fuel tank. It gets around 35 to 40 miles to the gallon, so I've been able to see like 170, 180 miles to a tank or so. This is a 990cc 45 degree V-twin. It pumps out 115 horsepower and 75 pounds of torque. It's also a dry sump system, so the oil tank is actually right there instead of under it, like a lot of other motorcycles. Also has WP fully adjustable rear shock. This bike also comes from the factory with hard bags, which is awesome. I think that's great. I wish more bikes came from the factory with bags. The dual under the seat exhaust. Honestly, it's kind of unneeded, but I think it's pretty cool looking. This bike has Battle Axe S22R tires on it, which I've seen to be quite well. I mean, I get plenty of grip everywhere. This has aftermarket exhaust. It's some sort of cheap Dominator, whatever. It sounds okay. I noticed there's a lot of rattling right here. You can see that's probably why all this orange shit is right here, trying to fix that. But you know, yeah, she works. And then we'll go ahead and talk about all the modifications done to this bike. So you got axle sliders, frame sliders, bark busters, rear view mirrors from Rottweiler, domino grips, voltmeter that's not hooked up yet, or you know, power accessory that's not hooked up yet, phone holder, you know, Farkles, bigger windscreen. This one also has the Rottweiler intake. It's tuned. It's been very well taken care of. All the valve checks are done, all that stuff. All right. All right. Let's get it started. She's got a good rumble to it, man, when you start it up. Actually, you know what? Let's get a better shot of that, of the bark. I think it sounds incredible. I love the way these V-twins on these KTM sound. All right, let's take it for a rip. So I can already hear that exhaust back there rattling. Crazy the way that exhaust rattles, but you learn to live with it, I guess. So I can tell you right now, the front brake definitely needs to be bled. But I can tell you from first-hand experience, these brakes work extremely well. The initial bite usually is extremely strong and slows you down real quick and in a hurry. Alright, we're going to take a right here. I'll also tell you right off the bat, the throttle isn't, the fuel mapping is so bad on these bikes. It is so bad. Like, it's so touchy. It's so on and off. It's honestly, sometimes it's genuinely dangerous. If you're midway through a corner and your hand, you just give it a little too much, it could equal some danger for sure. So riding it like this, it's not bad. I mean, it's a little vibey, but you know, nothing you can't live with. But when you're going, like, you know, just from right here, you give it just a little throttle, it pulls. It wants to buck you. So I would definitely say that this is not a beginner bike for sure, not even close. I would never recommend this to a beginner, or even somebody who's, you know, mildly intermediate. You know, someone that's been riding for, you know, 6 months or so. I'd tell them to pass, because this thing is, the fueling is so bad it's dangerous, to be honest. And with 75 torques on tap, it'll pull you. So come very gentle with the throttle, and you just it bucks you. So also, it hates being ridden like this. You can tell it hates being ridden like this. It just doesn't want it. It lugs. It's like, what are you doing, man? And then you start giving it a little more. And I mean, the more you give it, the more it wants it. I'm telling you, this thing it's angry. This bike is so much fun. Like these twisties right here are just a hoot on this thing, because it's a supermoto. I mean, it's got supermoto roots, you know. It's SMT, it's supermoto touring, so you know I'm sure that will appeal to a lot of people, the supermoto touring. It certainly does to me, because, you know, I love supermotos. I love acting like a dummy, you know, pulling shitty tiny little wheelies and going too fast sometimes, and just doing hooligan stuff in general. But I also like the tour, you know, like I want to go places with my homies that's, you know, hours and hours away, and you know, so this bike appeals to me greatly. I can't wait to ride the new 890 SMT. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know if it'll, you know, if it'll, because it has less horsepower than this, but maybe the torque and the weight will, you know, even that up a little bit, because this is actually decently light for how big it is. It's 475 pounds, wet and ready to ride, which is pretty decent. I mean, I've had a few other bikes that didn't feel as big, that weighed a lot more than this. I had a Bandit 1250 for a little while, and while it was a monster, yeah, it was also 540 pounds. The sucker was a huge bike. And this, you definitely don't feel that with this bike. I mean, this one actually feels pretty light. And, you know, so, I mean, you have to ask yourself, who is this bike for? You know, because like it's not new. There's no, this bike is a 2010, so this bike is the year before they released ABS on this model. So this bike doesn't even have ABS. It doesn't have ABS. It doesn't have traction control. It doesn't have wheelie control or anything. There are no nannies on this bike. But it's a blast. I mean, you know, being scared of it's half the fun. I mean, to me anyway. So, you know, a lot of people would ask, who is this bike for? Because even on the used bike market, they're pretty expensive. So asking yourself who this bike is for, this bike is for me. This is my personal bike. I love this bike. Like, I can't even explain to you how much I love this bike. All the way to the point where, you know, lately, so I've been starting to get into more and more track days. You know, I've been thinking to myself, you know, maybe I should sell the SMT, get something a little smaller, something that isn't as dangerous, honestly, because there's been multiple times where I'm on the track and I'm midway through a big, long, sweeping turn, and my handle just touched the throttle, and I mean, you can see it. Just when you touch the throttle, and it bucks, and it's dangerous. So that, and I mean, this thing is crazy fast. I mean, I'm a beginner on the track. I am absolutely never gonna say that I am good on the track even. Never claim to be, probably never will claim to be good. But I do enjoy it, and this bike is way faster and is way more capable than I am, for sure. So there's been a few times where I've thought about selling it and getting something a little smaller, a little more nimble, something like that. Maybe a 690 Duke or something. And then I ride this, and it just brings a huge smile to my face, doing just stupid, gnarly stuff, and you know, I just can't bring myself to part ways with it. It's just way too much fun. I will, however, say that it, you know, what they say about KTM is absolutely true. I'm not gonna lie. It keep taking money is no bullshit. Like, I have put a lot of money into this bike just with maintenance, you know, like I had to replace the clutch a few times. Well, I rebuilt it once, and then I had to replace the whole thing because I couldn't find one for an SMT, so I had to find one for a 690 and replace it with that. You know, everything about it. Like, I've replaced most things on this bike at least once, but it's been worth it. It's absolutely been worth it, to me anyway, because it's insanely fun. So here in just a second, we'll pull out onto this main road, and maybe we'll open her up a little bit and see what she can do. And then we'll go on the highway and see what it does on the highway. So now you'll see, so in first gear, it's, and second, it just pulls it straight up like it's not go. It wants to party. And every time you give it some, it wants more. So, like, you know, when I took this bike to the track, and it absolutely ate it up. And it did very, very well. Brakes did good, suspension did good, everything, all the components on here work together, and I can't say enough good things about it. I just wish I had more skill to really utilize it. suggest this bike to? Honestly, not many people. Like, I would suggest a Duke 990, a Super Duke 990 before I would suggest this. Just because I think that could be a little better utilized for most people for, you know, track sport bike duty. For this bike in particular, though, you know, unless it's somebody like me, I don't think I'm suggesting it to many people. Because it doesn't make sense. A touring supermoto, that doesn't make sense. It's not, you know, it's not that bad comfort-wise. You know, I'll be taking quite a long trip on it here in a month or two, and I look forward to that. And I think I could ride it for long distances, but, you know, compared to today's bikes, you know, cruise control, all that fancy stuff, you know, I couldn't blame somebody for not. With all the fairings and whatnot on here, you know, at low speeds like this, I'm not getting much wind. I get some on my arms, a little bit on my knees, but other than that, it's very negligible. And I do know that with this aftermarket windscreen, it takes a lot more wind off you than the original one. I want to say is about this tall. And I usually put that one on during the summertime and during track days, and then I put this one on when it gets a little colder. But it definitely keeps the wind, you know, right up to the beak of my helmet. Come on, dummy. You can do it. There you go. Just had to take a little convincing. I'll go back and trace my steps, and hopefully I can find it, because that would be really sweet. Debating on whether or not I should take this bike to the track again. I am genuinely worried about like laying it down and having to replace like the tank or something like that, because parts for this bike are mildly hard to find, and they're certainly freaking expensive. But God, this thing's such a blast on the track. It's just so freaking good. Especially because of the adjustable suspension, because let's face it, I'm a big dude. So a bike with, you know, non-adjustable suspension that's set up for a 160-pound rider isn't going to be too great for me, because I am not a 160-pound rider.